Olá, eu sou a Estelar. Bem-vindo ao canal Somos Nós. Ao final do vídeo, não esqueça de deixar o like e compartilhar.
Hi there, my name is Danny Henderson, and this is an extremely special Galactic Informer Roundtable. Most of the people in the screen here have been very prevalent in the world of disclosure, particularly in the galactic and military areas. We're going to start today with the one and only Dan Willis, who in 2001 was on an extremely important press conference, 2001, at the Press Club in Washington, D.C. Welcome, Dan. Please tell us about this extraordinary historical event that happened all those years ago.
Danny, hi. Hello, everybody. Well, this event was brought about by our legal government being denied access by, starting with Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson, who tried to look into these projects and greenlighted Dr. Greer to bring his witnesses that he started collecting back in 1993 to the year 2001, which had collected over 500 military witnesses. 21 of them were willing to go before the mainstream media of the world, and each state, after they gave their testimony, that they're willing to testify under oath before a congressional hearing. Dr. Michael Salla remembers this event well. The difference, it's kind of interesting, reflecting on over 2 decades ago, what the recent event with Dr. Greer in 2023 versus this event. We had 21 witnesses versus, I think, 6 or 7. They did not state that they were willing to testify under oath, but, a lot of the testimony substantiated some of the witness testimonies that were given back in 2001, such as the illegal secret government operations, bases on the other side of the moon, NASA airbrushing UFOs out. We had faster than light craft, President CIA directors being denied access, zero-point energy is available, on and on. Very explosive testimonies, of which myself being an ex-ABC newsman, watching carefully how the place was packed with news reporters and 22 cameras in the back row of the mainstream media. And I couldn't imagine how it could not be a world-changing event with what was being disclosed. I started my education back then of how the mainstream media has been infiltrated and controlled by the intelligence agencies, and that they basically did what's called a limited hangout, which made all these explosive testimonies appear to sound like hundreds of witnesses willing to break national security oaths, willing to testify under oath, are merely wanting to bring awareness to the public of the reality of UFOs while completely omitting all of the illegal secret government operations. But, in 2023, that was brought out by that one Marine who witnessed the drugs and human trafficking, weapons, and so forth being conducted by these operations. It's kind of interesting. I've become very aware of Dr. Greer's narrative. I knew him before 2001 and worked with him for many years. He has stayed with a consistent narrative that all extraterrestrials are good. There is nothing nothing lower than what's on this earth, which interestingly compares to what the Vatican came out with in 2009, that the extraterrestrials are brother. They're born on other planets, so they're outside of original sin, and there's no there's nothing lower than what is on this earth, which all of us know that's not exactly true. So it makes you question whether or not there's a narrative for an agenda there. There's also the narrative of the alien threat, which is used a lot in the media, which is certain groups and everything perpetuate that And it's always interesting what comes out of the New York Times, being one of the centrally controlled mainstream media outlets. Whatever they greenlight, such as the 2017 Nimitz incident with the Tic Tac, which was revealed was actually U.S. technology, and this is something that was so highly saturated across the media. And at the Senate UFO UAP hearing, they basically, they didn't acknowledge that, such as Mr. Gallagher brought up the fact that the Admiral Wilson memo, which is a hot potato, which reveals that we have been reverse engineering this technology for some time in these projects, which Admiral Wilson was denied access and threatened to back off on. What else to say about this?
Well, there's so much to say about it. You were one of the first people on that long table there many years ago, and there was a great hope that the world will be told the truth about the relationships with extraterrestrials on and off planet, the back-engineered military, the energy frequency technology that we have that's been repressed and held from us as a humanity. Now, we've known that people have been coming out lately and speaking, and this week, 2 military men stood up. In particular, there were several, but there were 2 in particular that stood up with Dr. Stephen Greer and others at this press conference in Washington, D.C. So history repeated itself this year, but there were much less people than on the table behind you in the picture behind you. And I wonder what will happen next, quite frankly. Now, I'm just going to quickly introduce the other people in the screen here, ladies and gentlemen. Elena Danan from the Galactic Federation of Worlds. She is the world emissary. Say hello, please.
Hi to everyone. I'm very happy to be here with you and being part of this discussion about disclosure and everything that's happening at the moment. So thank you for welcoming me. And do you want me to comment on this or later?
I think we'll just do a round table so people know who exactly everybody is. I should have done that at the beginning, but just a quick run round and then we'll come back. Chris O'Connor, please introduce yourself and give us an insight into your time as an ambassador on the Moon Mimas.
Hi, everybody. I'm Chris O'Connor. Yeah, I spent 40 years on the moon of Mimas, the Saturn moon, and I worked as on an emissary basis with my superiors, which were military, and we negotiated with different races. So yeah, that was an amazing experience.
And just one quick thing to say, Chris, you actually physically brought back to this planet space technology, free energy to help heal the body, which we will come to later. Those of us that make claims that we've been off planet, been negotiating, been bringing technology, we really need to show physical proof at this point. Tony Rodriguez, sir, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, Danny. Thanks for having me back. Hi, you guys. I love all you guys. We've all been friends since last year's GSIC, and it's just amazing. I'm so happy whenever we get together. Introduce myself. I'm Tony. I was taken into a more nefarious programs and served as laborer in several programs, culminating as a cargo engineer on a ship based on Ceres Colony. And sorry, Alex, I caught you coughing, and I got it on screen, so it's funny that it looks like. Anyhow, that's what I did. That was my background, and I began to get my memories back and then cross-check them with time on Earth and time and space, and things began to check out. So I decided to share my story publicly, and it's led me down the road to where I'm at now, where I'm developing technology that I remember being exposed to there for learning aids, learning software, and a learning program that is currently in development, doing well. And I'm very hopeful that it's going to be a viable option for parents to put their kids, because many parts of the world, the education system has completely failed. So something that's going to be an option to for parents, any kind of option like a lifeline to get out of the public system and still get an education to your kids, I think is very important. I'm working very hard on that. So that's where I'm at now. The whole GSIC changed my life. Our last conference changed my entire life. It is continuing to change in wonderful ways and new things that I never dreamed of. And I can't wait for this year.
Thank you so much, Tony. And just a point of reference, when you were off planet and used in dark military programs, you witnessed elite military personnel from this planet Earth up elsewhere off planet, plugged into technology that upgraded their learning. And you have brought that technology to the planet to help our children. Is that not correct?
Yes. And what we're finding is when we really look at it, take a hard look at what I described, that it was a system that was not entirely meant for people. It was meant for an ET race that had a bigger head and a different frame, because they had a gimbal where they could rest their heads on. So it was actually a learning system that was made for several species. And we were using it on Mars and to assess and retrain people. And it was a faster way to learn. It's that simple. I'm trying to shave off, like we're not to that point yet where I'm going to get data and learn how much faster on what I remember and what we're putting together, but it is a faster way to learn. It's just the research I've done on it has found that many colleges around the United States have theoretical papers on the same process. So I just have an insight that it's already being used from what I remember being up there. So that's the difference between, but it's theory for humans right now. And so we're already going to build it and get it into practice, and it's very hopeful. And there are a lot of things coming out. They're trying to use AI to monitor children, and in China, we're seeing a lot of things come out, and I feel they're going the wrong road. It's too draconian. Some of the new learning methods that they're starting to roll out, because after the pandemic, it's flavor of the month. Everybody wants a home learning system for kids so they can shut the world in case they shut the world down again. So there are a lot of people developing different ways for this, and so far there's still nothing in the wheelhouse of what we're doing. So I'm very, very hopeful, very happy with how it's going.
Thank you, Tony. I'm so proud in particular of Chris O'Connor and Tony Rodriguez at this point on the screen, who can actually validate and prove they have brought physical technology from off-planet. Jean-Charles Moyen, darling, coming to you. Please introduce yourself and give us a synopsis of what you did, what happened to you off-planet, as much as you can.
Okay, as much as you can. Hello, everyone. Thank you to invite me today for this amazing roundtable with amazing people, amazing friends, amazing family. Thank you very much. My story is simple. I was taken when I was young in a secret space program, a good secret space program, a positive secret space program. And I was taken again when I was adult in my military services in France. I was a part of the Solar Warden secret fleet because there is an agreement with America and France called the Solaris. It was a big spaceship, and there is inside a lot of spaces. We work with them, and with the children was trained by different aliens to prepare to fight against the reptilian Draco, because the reptilian Draco destroy everything and take person for the slavery, like my dear friend Tony. And this is my story. This is a very not simple to explain in a short word, but you know what I mean. So I was a part of the secret space program.
Tony, you mentioned Solar Warden, and it is one of my dearest wishes on this planet that everybody comes to understand what Solar Warden is. It is a fleet of craft built by militaries. There are militaries and governments across this planet who all know about Solar Warden. Just you, the public, have not been told about it. Just look it up, Solar Warden. It has existed for a long time. Other planets, other countries have their own spacecraft that goes up and docks on to the Solar Warden craft. We'll talk more about that in a while. Jean-Charles Moyen, thank you so much. Alex Collier.
Hi.
Alex Collier in the tree, sir.
Yeah,
Can't see you, darling.
I've been in the woods for some time. You know, it's with all of you, and Dan, I guess we're meeting for the first time, and I've heard of Jerry Wills years and years ago. So it'll be really interesting to meet all you folks. I'm a contactee, and I have been for quite some time. And I started talking in '91, and just kept pushing the envelope, carrying water for you guys to get to this place. And the handoff has already occurred, and I couldn't be happier and more excited that all of you are taking the baton and pushing the envelope further. And it's been an honor and a privilege to be of service. And I'm gonna put this out there. Do you remember I told the story about being with the Mornay, and they found human bodies floating in space? You recall that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Jean Charles, the handoff of Mornay's craft of the bodies was to the Solaris. I didn't know you knew that. And this is the first time I'm ever mentioning the name. That's who the handoff was. We returned the bodies to the Solaris. And that would explain why there were different uniforms, because it's a US French. I didn't know that either. So, very interesting stuff. Every day's the first day of school, and I just think it's interesting. Dan, I can't help but bring this up. Yes, in this last recent disclosure by Greer, there was a gentleman who stood there, and he was talking about in 2008, I think it was, or 2009, they were sent to the Philippines, Indonesia, to an island where there had just been a tornado or hurricane, because they were looking for Obama family members. And they came into the jungle, and they went to a specific area, and there they saw a craft, and they saw the trafficking of human beings to this alien craft. And I'm just wondering how, Stephen can just sit there and think that this is all okay. What was also interesting is the man giving the testimony had a tie clasp that was Masonic. It was the Mason symbol. So there's a lot of messages. There's a lot of things going on in the background that we all need to pay attention to. And I know you guys will. I couldn't be more proud of all of you, even though I don't know you. I know what it takes to do this, and I'm no stranger to the ridicule and the accusations and such like that. And I know many of you have gone through that and are still going through. And I think just before we break the denial, it may come to a crescendo, the alien threat, and we're going to be attacked. And what people don't realize is it's already happened, and they've already been forced out or vacated from the planet. So it's just fascinating to see how this all plays out, and how it all continues to play out. And I know you all will handle it with a lot of grace and class. And I'm going to be there cheerleading all of you. And Danny has me doing chores. I'll be emptying trash cans and serving water, things like that. So it's an honor and a privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Just briefly, for those that have never heard of Mornay, Mornay was your contact on the Andromedan Council, this beautiful giant being who's been by your side for many, many years, and told you that there were military personnel that were promised to come back to the planet, but unfortunately they were let go in space, and their bodies were recovered. And these are some of the things that will be coming out, no matter who's trying to control the narrative globally and dictate a way for their story to go. The people in the screen here have a lot of information and proof, and have been bringing it for a long time. Alex, we salute you. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
You're welcome. Take care.
Don't go. Stay there. Stay with us. Dr. Michael Saller, sir, You have been writing books on the secret space programs for 20 years. You've been reporting, you have been bringing us information that has come time and time and time again to be correct and so relevant for this time. Without you, sir, without your writings, without your dedication to truth, we wouldn't be as far along, I feel, as we are now. Please may you introduce yourself and give us a synopsis of who you be, if that's possible.
Sure. Well, 2001 was when my journey began into this field of suppression of extraterrestrial life and technology. And I was someone that saw the video of the Disclosure Project press conference. And at the time, it was life-changing for me, given that I was pretty much a kind of conventional academic that was kind of disheartened by the way international conflicts were just so pervasive. I was looking for deeper explanations for what's going on, and Greer's Disclosure Project gave me that. It gave me this new data that I just ran with, and the more I dug into it, the more real it became. And that was 22 years ago, and of course Dan was there. And what I would say has happened in the 22 years is that the mass consciousness has now shifted from, at the time, people were still very naive about many things. And of course, the 9/11 attack kind of like started to galvanize people. And, at the time, I mean, I was a full-time professor and I did not know what false flag operation was. I mean, I'm kind of like ashamed to say it now, but I was a full-time university professor in international politics, and I had no idea what a false flag operation was. It was only after the 9/11 that I kind of like was submerged into the literature about false flag operations and events, how these have happened, going back to the 50s, the 60s, and of course how the 9/11 attack was a part of that. And I think what's happened now is that over the last 20 years, people have been very educated about what a false flag event is, and people are on guard. And now I think we're kind of at a new phase, which is the limited hangout, which is where the extraterrestrial information comes in, because now we're watching these limited hangouts operate. And I think that's what we're seeing now. Right now, we have not one, not two, but 3 independent investigations of unidentified aerial phenomena. One's being conducted by the Pentagon, that's the ARROW office. One's being conducted by NASA, and one is being conducted by the White House, which is being led by their National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan. So you have to ask yourself, why do we go from 0 to 3 just within like a 2-3 year period? And why is it that now they're rolling out these whistleblowers? They're putting them out on a platter saying, oh yeah, I was part of these false flag, or so I was part of these reverse engineering programs, or I saw these reverse engineering programs. They're very real. And by the way, the aliens are hostile. So what we're getting is a limited hangout, which is that the deep state and their assets are putting out information, preparing people for a kind of limited disclosure that extraterrestrials or craft that have been built through the reverse engineering of extraterrestrial craft have been built, have been developed, and that this is part of some new amorphous unknown threat that is going to hit us. And I think that's what a lot of people are talking about, that, we don't have to have a false flag invasion, a false flag UFO or alien invasion. What you have is enough conditioning and enough fear that they could just put out data and information saying that these UFOs are a threat, are a national security threat. They can cite bases being attacked or craft being shot down, and people not kind of knowing what's really going on, and declare a national emergency, that we are under some national emergency, and they can roll out, whatever their next plan is. I think that's the plan. And I think what we are trying to do is bring awareness that, you know, there is this kind of extraterrestrial element here that is being ignored, that there are these secret space programs element here that is being ignored, that, you know, these people that are being kind of put out by the mainstream press. Because, I mean, anything that the mainstream press puts out, you can take it to the bank that this is part of some kind of psyop that the deep state wants to pull off. So if the deep state or if the mainstream press are putting out information that, oh, there are these reverse engineering programs of spacecraft, retrieved spacecraft, you know, they're doing that as part of a psychological operation to get us ready for the next big thing, to trying to deceive us. And I think it's this limited hangout. It's probably going to be some kind of really murky, amorphous chain of events that leads to some national emergency or global emergency concerning this unknown UFO threat. And I think that's what, you know, we are doing is putting out the truth that the extraterrestrials are here, that they're friendly, the unfriendly ones have left, that there are secret space programs in operation, and that these, by and large, are under the control of white hats or very friendly military organizations. And while there are some rogue groups like the CIA and the National Reconnaissance Office have a secret space program. I mean, I wrote about it in Space Force, our Star Trek future. I mean, it's there, the documents are there. The CIA and the NRO have this Office of Space Reconnaissance, which is a deep black program that's nested within the NRO, but is funded by the CIA and controlled by the CIA. And they did it because that was how they could keep this secret space program independent of Congress and independent of the Pentagon. The CIA didn't want the Pentagon interfering. They didn't want the Congress interfering. So they have set that up. So they can pull off a lot of things through that secret space program. So I think that that's what we are witnessing now. We are kind of on the verge of some major psychological operation where they're getting people, they're going to try and pull a fast one that merges a false flag alien event with some kind of limited hangout. And yeah, we're just trying to bring in the truth, prepare people for the big picture, and, you know, call people out who are putting out kind of like these limited hangout scenarios.
Thank you so much. I want to come back to you in a moment, but first of all, we're going to bring Tony Rodriguez on for final words because he has to leave. Tony.
Danny, hi. Thanks. Sorry, guys. This is a busy summertime for me with the family and everything, and I'm very proud of my youngest daughter graduating and going off to college, so I've got to leave early and go to her party. I hate to miss any opportunity to hang out with you people, all of it, some of my favorite humans in this meeting. And I just want to say that I think Dr. Sala just nailed it right on the head. I think that any version of extraterrestrial disclosure that is black and white, in contrast to the reality of the nature throughout the cosmos, that is just as varied as we get down here. ETs have their own purpose, their own perspectives, their own abilities, and many different societies that are interacting. The reality of what I remember, and I have to go by what I remember serving on, so it's a very long time ago, but because I've fished out actual proof of my time on Earth and the time that I was taking, I have to trust in my memories of space, of my space travels and working on an interstellar trade craft. And the reality that I remember is that it was basically endless, that there were civilizations that are very developed. There were people of all different levels of advancement, and they all have their own perspectives. And so we may agree with some of them, we may not. And that's the reality of a post-disclosure. And you see these people, you see the government, and like you said, the mainstream reeling out people that either have doom and gloom or all roses. And so it's just like nature, where you're going to get both. And I think that's the reality. And I'm very honored to be among people that have evidence, and we're bringing an actual and more clear version of what reality is like for people, making this available. It's a very important mission we're on, and I'm honored to be here and part of it. And I have to be signing off early. So I love you guys. I hope everybody watching comes out and sees us and stays tuned. Well, I don't know what's coming in the near future, but one thing's for sure, it's going to be amazing. So we can tell all of the catalysts are there for the next few years to be extremely not boring, put it that way. So I love you guys. I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Tony. Love you. See you
Love you,
soon.
Tony. Bye.
Congratulations for your daughter, my friend.
Yeah.
And big hug.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, Tony. Dr. Michael Salla, back to you. You mentioned the Pentagon, NASA, and the White House, three major global points of reference that we, the people on this entire planet, have been programmed and trained to listen to believe. Now, I know that these institutions house some fantastically beautiful, real good people. Also, these institutions are housed and run by some extremely nefarious shitheads, in my opinion. I have no respect for the leadership. It has come to pass that humanity has been held down, has been repressed, has been somewhat imprisoned. And the reason why we're seeing so much UFO, so much craft, so much this, so much that, is because they've lost hold of the reins of terror. And now the people are rising up and going, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Now, Dr. Michael Salla, you are very close with a wonderful man that we all know. He goes by the name of JP. This man is an active duty military person that you've known since 2008. You've worked with him before he went into the military, and he's been reporting into you what is happening inside the military with the approval of very senior military personnel. I know at some point we were all saying and asking other military personnel to please come forward, because JP has given us so much. He is protected. And I was so happy that Dr. Greer brought some beautiful men, military men. They've all created a bond. You could see that. You could see they all care about each other, and that those men in particular were very broken and shattered by their horrible experiences, because they'd seen UFO craft technology and they were forcibly repressed. Can you give us insight into your feelings on JP, what he's been reporting, and about others coming forward from the military and other areas to disclose what's happening on our planet?
Well, JP is pretty unique because, I mean, he started off as a contactee, and that's how he came to the attention of the military, that he was a contactee, that there was a Nordic group of human-looking extraterrestrials that were working with JP. And in the book, I kind of like present all of the data, all of the evidence that he was working with this Nordic group of extraterrestrials that then began working with the US Air Force. And that part of the agreement between the Nordics and the Air Force was that the Nordics wanted JP to be given exposure and to be allowed to disclose this information. So that was an agreement between the Nordics and the Air Force. So this is something that has led to JP being given access, because what the Air Force wants and now what the Army wants is the knowledge and the information that the Nordics have. And of course, the Nordics are plugged in to the Galactic Federation, to the Andromeda Council, the Ashtar Command, those other organizations and so the Air Force and the Army are giving JP this kind of privileged access because he's a contactee. And what I also described in the book was that one of the factors that led to JP joining the military was that even though he had Air Force operatives taking him to different locations, classified locations, that on 2 occasions he was denied access, even though he was taken there by Air Force operatives. Other operatives, like the program managers, denied him access. So, that was one of the things that JP was told. He was told, look, we know you're a contactee, we know you're working with the Nordics, and you have access to a lot of things. But if you really want to be able to be exposed to everything, you have to join the military. And so that was one of the big factors that led to him joining. So I described that in the book. And so, for example, in 2016, he was taken to this naval platform over a space ark in the Atlantic Ocean. He was taken to that, but he was denied entry by an army general because he was a civilian. The generals yelled at him and said, "What are you doing here? You shouldn't be here," even though these Air Force operatives took him there on a flying triangle. So that shows you that even in the compartmentalized world, there's still, there's a big struggle about who has access and who doesn't. And so then we fast forward to 2022 and JP goes to that very same platform, but now he's active US Army, so he's allowed access and he goes in and he's actually part of the mission. So he goes in and performs 3 missions in that Atlantic space ark. So, he's unique in that sense. Now, a lot of these other whistleblowers, like the 6 whistleblowers, there were kind of 5+1 at the Disclosure Project press conference, because 5 of them were kind of people that were in the military were exposed. Another one had experiences with this neutrino detector array down in Antarctica, so he wasn't military. But those 5, they described being kind of like not read into the programs, and to varying degrees, they experienced punishment for what they went through. And of course, these were events that happened 10, 20, 30 years ago. So, and that's the case with a lot of Stephen Greer's whistleblowers, that these are people that experienced things 10, 20, 30 years ago, because, people who are talking about things that happened that long ago, if they come forward, they have a chance of surviving, of not being eliminated, because, this whistleblower protection law, that's something that's set up for by Congress, so that that gives these whistleblowers some protection if they do come forward. But really, if the deep state doesn't want someone to come forward, then they will they do eliminate them. Now, in Stephen Greer's earlier press conference in 2001, he did have a lot more whistleblowers who came forward, but this time he only had 5 really, as opposed to the dozens that were part of that earlier one. So I think what we're seeing now is, there is more whistleblowers coming forward, but I think the ones that are allowing to come forward to talk about what's going on, like this new one, David Grush, and there's another journalist, Michael Schellenberg, who talked about several insiders that talked about what was going on. I think they're allowing those testimonies to come forward because I think it suits the deep state agenda. But hats are kind of like, operating behind the scenes. They're encouraging JP to come forward. I think they're also preparing others to come forward to talk about what's really happening in the programs today. The live intelligence, not what happened 10, 20, 30 years ago, but like what's happening in space now, what's happening on the moon, what's happening on the moons of Jupiter, Ganymede, and Europa. These are the things that people want to know about it. And I'm very glad, we've got Elena here, Jean-Charles, we've got Chris, who all have data about events that are happening now, and you don't get that anywhere else. I mean, that's really what's unique about this conference that you're convening again for a second time. So, kudos to you, Danny, for putting that together. It's a big task to hold such a conference, and so people are going to get, this kind of unprecedented exposure to things that happen, not just decades ago, but things that are happening now. Real-time intelligence on events that are happening now that explain why the deep state is doing all the things it's doing, because the deep state is doing everything it can to kind of get ahead of something that is coming that it can't control. And what's coming is what JP's been describing, what Elena's been talking about, what Chris and Jean-Charles have been talking about. So I think this conference is going to be so important, because people who come will be exposed to the genuine intel on what's coming.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. You mentioned the conference. For those that don't know, the conference is called the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection. It'll be held in Orlando, Florida, October 20th, 21st, 22nd. The people in the screen you see will be there. And there will also be off-planet and on-planet amazing technology to try. We've been repressed in every level, and we take it no longer. Some of us are absolutely going to have our hearts broken, but when we realize that every single system on the planet, bar none, has been infiltrated by controlling assets who are now and have lost the reins. Chris O'Connor, I wish to come to you, sir. You spent many years working for an Earth organization off planet. Please, can you tell us what that organization is called?
Yeah, it's actually the United Nations. It's an off-world based United Nations. And we basically had a representation on the space station that I was on, which was, it's the moon Mimas is actually that space station. And we have representation there, and there were many hundreds of different races that were on that station. It's part of the, Federation of Planets. There's, several stations in our solar system, and Mimas is one. It's the one I'm familiar with and have information on. And so, yeah, we were there, and we would, my personal job, because I was able to be kind of telepathic and empathic, and because most races don't really communicate verbally like we do. Some of them do, many of them do, but not all of them do. And so we have to have people that can empathically kind of tell during a conference or a conversation how the other being is feeling. And often they can communicate, they would communicate with me and just drop information in, or actually speak, or I could actually hear them in my mind, or an emotion or color or any number of things that they would use to communicate information. And so that was my job. And so we would be in a meeting, and I would have my superiors with me, and I would just simply be there, to have that communication and to tell and to report to my superiors what I feel like is going on. If they've said something to me that they can't communicate verbally, or they're not getting through, then I could tell, and I would report that. And it was a known fact. That's why I was there. Both sides were aware of that. And but a lot of them are very, very funny. These higher density beings tend to take on an interesting sense of humor. And a lot of times they would be there and they would be telling me jokes or saying funny things, trying to get me to break, during a meeting. And so they're very unique experiences, of course. But that was my job. That's why I was there. And so the United Nations does have, as far as I'm aware, on probably every station, but at least on Mimas, that's what I was aware of. And we had basically an embassy there.
Incredible. I know there are many broadcasts that you and I have done, and you with others, and every single person on screen. We've done many different broadcasts bringing information on my channel in particular, and also many others. Now we're going to come to Elena Danan. She is the Earth emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. She did not need permission from any Earth system. They were not invited. Elena Danan, I will come to you. Please tell us who you be. Tell us about the Galactic Federation of Worlds, and is the current rolling out of disclosure as we're seeing it in other quarters part of the actual plan from upstairs?
Yeah, so there is a broader plan for disclosure that has been starting to be set up and discussed in the year at the end of the year 2021, when the Intergalactic Confederation came back into the star system, because things had happened. The regressive extraterrestrials who were on Earth and based in other places in the star system had been expelled. So now it was a new era for the star system, and things were going to be reorganized, and we could frankly go forward with the plan for disclosure. Disclosure of what? Well, extraterrestrial presence on Earth, not only in the present, but specifically in the past. In the past, last few decades, since the 1940s, what has happened? So a plan was, you need to start from there. And otherwise, people will not be able to understand all the elements that are in the picture now. So the plan is they all gather together. I name them by their real name, the Galactic Alliance, which includes the Galactic Federation of Worlds, the Andromedan Council, and other minor organizations, all positive. And so they had this series of meetings, end of 2021, start of 2022, where they split the work, the task. The Intergalactic Confederation, or the Seeders, they approached their motherships. They put 4 motherships on orbit of Earth. Recently, 2 more joined. And they were starting to display the scout ships of the Federation a little bit everywhere in the star system. And some of them have been photographed near Jupiter, by the way, by the James Webb telescope, but also in the Earth atmosphere. And the Galactic Federation of Worlds would do the same, displaying the ships, because now that the regressives are gone, all the spaceships you see in the sky, if they are ETs, they are positive. If they are not positive ETs, they are made on Earth by different factions, the black and the white hats, as we call them. But so that was the part of the ET to disclose to show their ships, and but that was not the biggest part. The biggest part was left to the Earth Alliance, or the white hats, and it was about revealing, disclosing slowly documents, revealing what had really happened since the Roswell crash to these days. That meant revealing the retroengineering, of course, of the crashes, all the space programs, the dark ones as well as the good ones, such as Solar Warden. But there are different space programs, as you all know now. And through all this, slowly getting people used to the existence of beings from other worlds. Now, this plan starts as really kicked when this law was voted to protect all our whistleblowers, military whistleblowers, to come forward. That was the green light given by the Galactic Alliance, say, okay, it is starting now. And it has started. So there's a plan that is extremely clever. As Thorhan Redion, my contact, says, it is pure genius. We say that it is pure genius. And it will have many surprising, steps in it. So what this include, tricking the deep state at their own games. And people may feel confused, but there are signs that are left behind, by the Alliance, Galactic and Earth. Hints, clues, watch, feel if it comes from fear or from positivity attitude. Now, all this discussion about only positive aliens or only negative aliens, both are what we call black hat, deep state, different factions. The Vatican is in it, different letter agencies are in it. Well, these both narratives, as Michael Salas so eloquently explained, are engineered to confuse people, to pass agendas. Either all aliens are bad, okay, fake alien invasion to subjugate everyone in fear to be able to control them under New World Order, which will not happen. And the other side, all ETs are good. I may remind you, to explain it the best, these TV series in the 1980s, they were called V. You remember that? where reptilian aliens under the disguise of good aliens would come to Earth and be friendly to everyone, and the government would say, oh, they're amazing, and then when they're well settled, well, bad surprise. That reminds me of this kind of scenario. But there are no negative aliens. Who would play the baddies? It would be the humans of Earth, because that's the only evil left on Earth is human. It's the dark programs, it's the deep state, it's the Vatican, it's all human. The extraterrestrial heads have been cut, removed by, and blocked. The star system is so well protected. You have no idea how well it is protected. Oh my goodness, it cannot be better. So this is my my information on it. It's going to be very interesting to observe, and I would just, my advice would be, does it come from a place of fear or from a place of a positive, progressive future? Now, you were talking about, I know, Danny, you may ask me the question, because we've been, you've been asking me the question before we started, so I'm going to answer directly. We were talking about Stephen Greer's conference and project. The only thing I can say is, the thing I know is that he's working on his own project, not with the Galactic Alliance. He has his own stuff that is not linked to the disclosure plans of the Galactic Alliance. So my contact for Ron Heredion, gave in January, I think it was 6, 2023, the update, last update of the disclosure plan to General Van Herk, and or was in it, and Greer isn't in it. So that's what I can say. Now, that was a long thing.
It's so important. It's very crucial that we bring as much information and evidence today as we can without taking 3 or 4 hours to do it. A lot of people will know a lot of the information, and all of you guys here, having seen many of your broadcasts, but some will not, and some will be very surprised at some of the information being dropped here. It has come to our attention globally, billions of people, that governments, religions, sciences, education, medicines, space agencies, and military factions are dark and controlled and have not had humanity, the most beautiful beings in the universe. The human being is so beautiful, so magnificent. We weren't supposed to come and be shoved in these 3D suits here. We are beyond special. That is one of the reasons why our planet was targeted. And I love to know that the Galactic Federation of Worlds and other races are up with their motherships, which the mainstream media have actually said, oh, there might be a few motherships, really? And that anything that happens on our planet affects the rest of the cosmos. And so even if other races aren't particularly happy with this planet and its corruption, they are there in support of us too. So much to say here. Thank you for reminding us that General Van Herk this year, a very decorated military official, was handed a disc from the Galactic Federation of Worlds with actual disclosure intel upon it. Please, we welcome the entire world to go and investigate that truth and that reality. Now, Chris O'Connor, I'm going to come to you just briefly regarding the Deems device, as we are unraveling technology here that is for the benefit of humanity, the healing of humanity in every way. How do you feel at the moment, the way technology is going, and in particular, because you yourself are developing and designing an actual med bed?
Yeah, I definitely see a number of technologies coming out and coming through that have been kind of held back. So I have so much hope because, a few years ago, a lot of this information wasn't going to come through, wouldn't be allowed to come through, and yeah, the thing I've learned and the thing that I remember from being off world and working with technologies is it's all basically, you know, when it breaks it down, is magnetic, you know, magnetism and crystals, and you know, those are the things that that most all these technologies are based on, and photons, and you know, photonic and electromagnetic type of work, if that's healing work in the physical form and physical sense, or healing of the emotional or nervous system, or in any part of the human body. So yeah, I do remember working with quite a few things, and that's what we're working now and trying to bring forward, you know, is trying to bring some of these technologies in a way that's accessible, you know, to people. And so I'm really excited, and I have a lot of tremendous hope for the very near future.
And you're very humble as always. You have been very prevalent in creating and bringing technology from off-planet to the masses. And there's going to be an actual medbed and other great technology at our conference in October, the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection. Thank you, Chris. Jean-Charles Moyen, my brother, darling, thank you for bringing the French military information of the Solar Warden and the ship that you were on called the Solaris that docks onto Solar Warden. I'd like to ask you to share with us, please, as a little boy in France, you were taken into a military program. Can you give us a synopsis? I know it's difficult to do, but with people that may never have heard that these military programs, these dark funded programs exist. And you were a child, and you were taken as a child.
Yes. Before I explain, I want to tell something very important. During the conference of Washington with Dr. Greer, I noted some information very, very important. I want to share with you this because I have the chance of everyone here can testimony what I say now. During a few interviews during these years with my friend Michael and you, Danny, and Elena, do you remember when I explained when I was in Excelsior and I met Rebecca Rose, and I described the spaceship was a stick in the hub in the space. It looked like a black spaceship, organic. It's like alive. You remember that? And I remember Dr. Greer, the military whistleblower, tell they met in a secret base, a big spaceship, black spaceship. And when he touched this spaceship, it was like alive because it was organic. It was the same detail I tell. And after that, Dr. Gray tell the different country alliance with America. I don't know the name. Allies, comment on dit alliés, Elena?
Allies.
So the France is allies with America. Found UFO crash and retrajectory too. He tell the friends, and and I remember that, Elena can confirm, during the Sarkozy presidency, Dr. Greer worked with the friends to the CE5 experience, you know, close encounters of the fifth kinds. So he disclosed that the French have a secret program for the extraterrestrial, and he spoke to clone operation with secret. Remember, did you heard all the conference of Dr. Greer? Did you watch?
Me?
Yes, everyone.
No, I don't watch TV anymore, okay, so I didn't know that.
Because there is a lot of stuff information I tell with you before he tell that. So it was very important to clarify this. So now I come back to when I was young, very short. Okay. It began when I was 13, and I was a headache, and I was sunstroke, and I was hospitalized. And during my hospitalization, they made me X-ray and discover like a tic-tac, metal tic-tac inside my head. It was an implant. And they decide to put me in an observation in a room. And during a night, military guys with a doctor came to my room, and the military guy spoke to German language. And during the next night, a whole military, white hair and blue eyes, take me and bring me to comment on dit sous-sol? Comment on dit sous-sol en anglais?
Underground.
Basement. Sorry, in the basement of the hospital, and I was with a lot of children in a lineup, and we take our hand in the box with a DNA signature to recognize who is who, and we go through a light. It's like a Stargate, and we got recruited for a special military space program, and they test everything, abilities we had. The children was separated, a girl and boy, and they test our fear. And this is the beginning of the program. And I jump because it's very, very long. My story is it's very long, so I explain the best way I can, okay? So after that, I was I lost my word, sorry, I'm very, very exhausted because I work a lot of night for my movie, Central Origin too. So, colonie de vacances.
Holiday camp.
Teenage camp.
Holiday.
Yeah. Colony camp.
No.
Holiday
camp.
Okay. So
it's for holidays.
Oh, for holidays. Yes.
Else.
I was with a lot of children, and during a night, I go through the window, and I go to a field, and I was very very sad because some children was mock me because I explain what I live in the hospital, and they don't believe me. They tell me I'm crazy, and I was very sad. So I go into a field, and I'm waiting, sat down, and I look up the sky, and I'm waiting something. At this moment, I don't know what I'm waiting, but something arrived behind me, and I was struck by a light, was teleported into a big spaceship, and in this spaceship, it was the Solaris, and a lot of beings welcomed me, and a blonde woman came to me, and her name was Maria, and I follow this woman into a big corridor in the spaceship, and we were in a big classroom with a lot of children, only aliens, except one. It was another French guy. Her name was David Rousseau, and we are in contact now. We are the same detail and the same story about the classroom in the space and the secret space program training together during a lot of years in space. This is my story. This is short resume. I'm sorry, but yeah, each time it was very difficult to resume my story in a short time, you know. So I do my best. So I don't know what I say. So it's I lost something very important detail. I have special abilities during my childhood. I can project myself physically and spirit, and it's a long story, you know, my friend. So I hope everything is okay with my detail.
So perfect. I want people to know that see this, that Jean-Charles Moyen, M-O-Y-E-N, Jean-Charles Moyen You have dedicated your life to tell everything on film. You are a film director. You have literally taken your every experience you've had and you have made film after film after film. We will put the links to your movies underneath this broadcast so people can really get more information on you, because you are one of the single greatest disclosure whistleblowers that we've ever seen on this planet. I want you to take a couple of minutes before I come back to Alex Collier. I want you to take a couple of minutes to explain to us some of the technology that has been kept from us for the military space suits, please. Don't draw a blank. The military spacesuits, the super suits that you've worn on missions off planet, and what they
Oh,
do.
me?
Yes, you, darling.
Okay. Oh, okay. I was the part of the secret space program when I was adult. I was a super soldier because my abilities was very special, like teleportation physically without any device. And my mission was to rescue some slave in a different planet, like Ceres, like Mars, and another solar system. And I'm working with my dear wife, Melanie. She's not here today because she's out. And she say hello everyone too. So we have a story, a love story here and a love story up there. Okay, and we work together. We welcome the people was slave, and we take these people in a medbed, and people and beings, because they are not only humans slave. You know, there is beings slavery in a space by the reptilian Draco. Okay, it's very important, and I was in the front of a lot of Draco in my life, and I remember the black Draco was more stronger and more aggressive, you know. And my mission was to escort to diplomacy too, and bring some technology like crystal technology for the medbed, for the food, because there is a different crystal, for weapon, for earth, for the art of the spaceship, because the spaceship working with a big crystal in the middle of the technology, you know, with more light speed. It was a supraluminic speed, you know. It's more like the light speed, you know. I don't know, it's the good name, supraluminic, you know. Yes. Oh yeah, thank you. So I was inside the Solaris, and sometimes I spend leisure time in another mother spaceship with my friend Elena in Excelsior, and we remember each of us some very accurate detail, like a cafeteria with the replicant food, and a lot of things. I live a lot of things with my dear friend Elena, and in Antarctica, in Egypt, in a different. We have a lot of link together, and I'm very happy to share this with you. And I have a lot of another story with the Japan too. Like say my friend, your life is like a movie. Yes, it's right. It's like, but it's right. It's true. And I have a lot of interview with my dear friend Michael and everyone here. So we were all connected. Me with Chris, me with Dan, and I'm very happy to have a link, a very strong link to with GP and with my dear friend Alex. I love you, Alex. You're very, very important for me too. So this is what I say now, but I think during the the interview, maybe some detail remind me.
Yeah,
Thank you.
So much, my love. And it's very important that we tell the world about the military, technical spacesuit, spacecraft, everything that's been held from us. We bring it, because if they'd done their job properly, the systems that run the whole planet, we wouldn't have to be coming forward and sharing with humanity the reality of their beautiful planet. Sir Alex Collier, I want to come to you. Could you please share with us your information on how we fly spacecraft with consciousness?
Well, I didn't do it very well. I mean, I've been pretty upfront about that, but I can tell you how the A's do it, and I can tell you about my sorry attempt to do it. But then again, it was one of their ships. It's consciousness. They have literally all the information in their head, and it connects to a network, which is the ship. Their ships are living beings. They're living entities. They're grown. They're organically grown, and they are. It's almost as if it's like a plant, except it's a crystalline type of living entity. And I wouldn't call it an AI, though that would probably be the way we would describe it here in third density. It has its own consciousness. And what the ship does is it bonds with the crew. And if you're not crew, there's no way you're getting in it. All right, which is why we have ships that we can't get into, because they're not crew. And I think that was an issue they had with the ARCs for a while. They didn't know how to get into them until they figured out we need to find crew. If the ship is here, obviously the crew is here. So they put those pieces together, which is great. Essentially what they do is they think about where they want to be, and the ship then maps and charts, and then you go. I had begged and pleaded for years to be able to fly the ship. I wanted to fly the ship. And it was always, no, you're not ready. When will I be ready? You know, I can't learn to drive it unless you let me drive it. And that's how I put it, drive it. So the day came and I just said, you know, just off the cuff, you know, it would sure be fun to fly this thing. And he goes, fine. I'm like, what? It's fine. So, okay, we go into the command room and I sit down in his chair, you know, and I'm like this shrimp in this huge chair. Okay, I felt like a toddler in a high chair. And because they're big, you know, they're 10 feet tall. So I sat in this chair and he goes, okay, you want to put your hand here? And I did. And then the ship's going like this, wobbling like this. And I'm like, it's broken, it's broken. He goes, no. And he puts his hand on my shoulder, and all of a sudden everything just calms down. And what it was, the ship didn't know me. It knew I was there with him and the crew, but it didn't know me. So the minute he put his hand on me, the ship recognized his frequency coming through me, and the ship, instead of doing all this flipping around, it just calms right down and settles in. And we flew to Uranus. And then he took over. But I did. I flew his starship to Uranus. And, you know, I have to tell you, outside of my children being born, that is the highlight of my life at this moment, to this moment. And when we talk about the Black League, you know, we all threw what we would call dragonflies. Of course, it was in a different language, but dragonflies exist in other ecosystems out in the galaxy. And you know, I can't wait to find mine. Apparently, it's here somewhere, but I can't wait to find it because, you know, I'm ready. I'm ready to fly again. So, you know, we all have stories, even those who aren't awake. You know, you have a story about how you got here, how you got to Earth. You know, it wasn't the stork. I can promise you that. You know, but we all have our stories and our journeys of how we got here and how it is that we're living here in this time. None of it's an accident. You know, there is a purpose behind all of it. And I don't know what else you want to know. You know, I do know that if I had found my dragonfly, I probably would have caused quite the ruckus, because I'd have gone after the deep state myself and just said, you know, I don't know what you guys are waiting for. I'll just do it. You know, but obviously it isn't time, that there's a reason and a purpose and a plan, a process in which to do this, to unroll it for humanity. And it just, you know, sometimes we get very impatient. We're like, okay, we've been awake, we know what's going on. When are we going to get on with this?
Absolutely.
And I think that's one of the hardest things for those of us who have been awake for a while. It's just like, okay, let's go, let's get on with it. You know, let's move things along. And, you know, your conference in Orlando is obviously a huge piece. I don't think people really truly realize how incredible it is, and the first event was. I mean, we had boots on the ground there. And I could tell you, they don't go to Vegas. You know, they're not in Vegas, and they didn't go to Shasta. You know, they came to Orlando. And they introduced themselves to several of us. So, you know, guys, this is not to be missed. This event in Orlando is simply not to be missed. And even though I have taken steps back, I will continue to support this on my own dime, because it is not to be missed. So, you know, book it. Figure out how to make it work. But you need to be there, because you won't ever forget it. You just won't ever forget it. And it's a great deal. It's so much fun, you know, because you can say almost anything and nobody will laugh at you. We're like, oh yeah, you know, we're all on the same page. We're all pretty much all at the same level. If anything, you're going to meet people who are at a higher level, and that's what you want, you know, because you want it. We all want to go to the next level with our frequency, and then maintain it there, and then take the next step and the next step and the next step and maintain it there. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Alex,
Or-
thank you so much for speaking to the conference, the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection, which we have shortened to GISIC. And yeah, people met their star families, the star seeds all came together, the Earth Alliance was there. There were many different beautiful ET beings. It was so obvious when you looked, we could feel the frequency of them, those of us who were sensitive. There were UFO craft every night outside by the fire pit, looking up through the twin towers of the hotel. And we invite people, of course, to come this year to the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection. I wanted to mention before I come back to Dan Willis that it is obvious to the people of the planet, many of us, that if you don't know, you're going to know that Mars, the Moon, Jupiter, and Neptune in particular have already been established. There are humans, there are military personnel, there are beautiful beings on these planets. If you are still going to spend your life listening to Daddy, NASA, religion, education, medicine, now it is time to let them all go stand in the corner, because they have misbehaved horrifically. People like Alex Collier, Michael Saller, Jean-Charles Moyen, Chris O'Connor, Dan Willis, Elena Danad, for example, Dr. Christiane Northrup. These are the leaders of truth on your planet. Most of them, some of them. Now, dear Dan Willis, I want to ask you, sir, you were there 21 years ago at the Press Club in Washington, D.C., where people stood up to bear witness to the things that are held from us on this planet in terms of the real truth and the disclosure of our reality as a humanity. you saw this week, 22 years later, 22, master year, master number, 22 years later, Dan, you witnessed Dr. Greer, again, who led the last press club conference with the people this week. Do you think from last time to this time, a huge amount has happened? And do you think anything will happen from that press club? I ideally hope so, but what are your thoughts?
Danny, what really got me to start researching on the psychological operations and the perception management that's associated with this whole thing, we didn't have the whistleblower legal protection back in 2001 like they do today. Before Dr. Greer did his current press conference, I thought for sure, well, the mainstream media is going to do a limited hangout on this. Of course, it's not going to bring out about the drug operations and extraterrestrial craft. They'll do your basic extraterrestrials are real, UFOs are real type of thing. Whenever it comes out of the New York Times, when you study back through history, you understand how the mainstream media centrally got infiltrated, organized to control the perceptions of the public. You find that whatever comes out of the New York Times has gotten greenlighted toward an agenda. Just like in 2017 when it came out, just like with David Gush, is his last name, he's coming out with that narrative. I find it interesting that the Galactic Federation of Worlds, that Dr. Greer's operations are not part of the disclosure plan, and so you have these different operations that are purporting a different perception, the alien threat, all ETs are good, and then you have a very positive future with the Galactic Federation of Worlds bringing out a genius plan, which you wouldn't expect anything less, of a psychological operation to acclimate the public for preparation for eventual contact. Am I answering your question, Danny?
Absolutely. It is a difficult question to ask, of course, ask and answer, because we actually don't know. I mean, I only saw Dr. Greer and his colleagues on YouTube, and I was hoping, because I don't have a television, I was hoping it was going to be on television, it was going to be on mainstream media, but we know that the media is run by about 3 men who control every single story that comes out in every single country, and so people like you guys coming out and speaking as you are, the more we speak, the better. But I don't know if anything has happened since that day. I just hope it has. I hope it has.
Well, it's interesting, in 2001, the internet and streaming videos, Rumble, YouTube, everything wasn't available back then. Only the National Press Club was able to stream the video live. Dr. Michael Sallow might have been aware of. I think it was like 500,000 people were signed online. But we found out through sources that the NSA jammed the first hour, which had explosive information that was revealing that our little constitutional government had been denied access to these illegal operations, as Admiral Wilson revealed. And so today, with the multiple streaming platforms, much of the public has seen the press club that on alternative media. I haven't checked because I've avoided CNN and MSNBC, all the mainstream media outlets. It's just too much brain damage to watch people consistently deceiving you. But whatever is coming out of the mainstream media, you can pretty much rest assured it's a supported narrative that supports an agenda. And to me, it's interesting to see the different narratives that are coming out and what potential narratives are going to lead toward what agenda. And I'm putting all my bets onto the Galactic Federation of Worlds to oversee this, since their minions no longer have their regressive extraterrestrial overlords to assist them. I think it's in good hands.
Brilliant. Thank you, Dan. I want to say also that you are, at the current time, and have been for a very long time, been very responsible for bringing forward free energy and technology that has been repressed. And you are currently working with off-worlders to bring more technology forward. And we salute you for it, Dan Willis. Also with Alex Collier, I wanted to let you guys know that if you didn't know what he means by the A's, he is talking directly about the Andromedans and the Andromedan Council. The persons, the beings ship that he flew was his best friend, Mornay. I think Alex has left the round table for the moment, but I wanted to qualify in case nobody has ever heard Alex speak on those points, and we don't want to miss any details. Now, I would like to go free fall here, guys. Is there anything else that you feel that we should be sharing, disclosing at this very moment? Please go ahead.
Yeah, there is something that I think is important to point out, that I remember, I think it was, or JP definitely, and Elena, about a year ago, 6 months ago, started saying that the space arcs and the motherships would be releasing probes, spherical probes or orbs, to really monitor the situation, that people would be seeing a lot more of these things. And that was actually confirmed at this meeting that NASA had just over a week ago, that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick gave a presentation to this panel of, I think it was 24 NASA experts. That's a very interesting number, isn't it, Elena? 24. So he gave a presentation to 24 NASA experts, and in there he said that the majority of UFO sightings that are currently being seen are of these metallic spheres. So I think right there you have confirmation that that information, that intel from JP, from Elena, is spot on. That's correct. And also, JP is saying that the arcs, and I think Jean-Charles has said this as well, and Elena, that the arcs are going to reveal themselves eventually. And this is where I think the deep state is why they're accelerating things, why they're doing things in the way that they are, because they want to get ahead of the curve. They want to get ahead of this problem. How do you explain these huge ships that suddenly appear over the skies and are just peaceful, radiating love light, right? How do you explain that to a public that isn't ready? And of course, that's what I think their whole program now is, to kind of like acclimate people, so to get ahead with their agenda. And of course, there's a jiu-jitsu operating here, where the Galactic Federation know the moves of the deep state, and so they use those moves to kind of like trick and condition the public to think a certain way, but they use that to co-opt things so that they can bring about a kind of disclosure. But the one thing I think that's very interesting, and Greer said this too, which I thought that was very interesting. He said by the end of the year, things are happening that can't be stopped. And I think that's what JP, what the Galactic Federation have been saying, that you cannot stop this. All the deep state can do is try to get ahead of it, spin things in a way that would suit their agenda, but they can't stop it.
Very true. Very, very true. Go ahead, Lena.
Well, Una, the emissary from the Alliance from the Cedar, she said the same, that by the end of 2023, there will be a big step ahead in disclosure, and we will think completely differently about extraterrestrials. Well, we are in June, and now the world is been already accustomed to the existence of extraterrestrials. So I believe she said right by the end of the year. So she said this as well. And you can't stop this, as Michael was saying. That's it. it has started. And however angry and aggressive and gaslighting the people, the minions of the deep state are, there's nothing they can do except being angry and doing their angry behaviors. They cannot stop it. So, you know, it's going to be great.
Well, even they will have the chance to go from dark rage to light, because we're all, at the end of the day, beautiful human beings. We are so full of love if we can only get in touch with that love. And everyone, I hope, will just drop that angriness and just embrace the liberation of their own planet. Jean-Charles.
Yes, I remember during an interview with my dear friend Michael, he asked me, could you have information about something happened in these years? Ask to Victor, and Victor tell me this year's a big disclosure coming, and it was I think it was there is 2 months we were together, Michael and I, the interview, and I remember this, and now this is a big disclosure. People think what he wants about the conference with Dr. Greer. There is a good things and bad things, something, but the most important things is the disclosure is now, because we disclose that there is a retroengineering during 80 years, and they hidden the very the truth about some close encounters with different beings, and they hidden some technology of free energy, and for me this is the most important divulgation in history, because the principle is we are not alone, and now people know the truth. And after we want more disclosure, we want more evidence, but the important thing is it's coming now. That's it.
Just one quick thing for people to know. You are going to see more and more craft in the sky. It is old news at this point. If you see or feel anything negative, that is a human. It could be somebody from a member of the so-called elite. It could be negative military trying to frighten you, trying to scare you. As Elena clearly stated, they are positive now, anything we see, because it is in our interest as a humanity to blend with our brothers and sisters off planet who are here to support and love us, and to remove the dark, fetid ones who've had control for too very long. So please don't go out and start being dramatic and scared and firing. Please don't do that, because that is what the program is in your brain. Oh, the aliens are going to get me. No, you should be worried about the humans running every single system on your planet of control. That's where you should put your attention. Chris, what would you like to say?
Yes, and I'd like, oh, sorry, I have a comment to can I just add something to what Jean-Charles was saying? You know, there's also a dimension of the narrative, all aliens are good, there are no bad aliens. That dimension that we are not always talking about is something crucial, and it's the foundation of everything, is that in the 1950s, exactly in 1955, the Majestic 12 sold out humanity to evil aliens, to the Grey Orion groups, and they also signed agreements with the reptilians involved with the Dark Fleet. I mean, these who are not here anymore, they were super evil. So saying, oh, there are no bad aliens, it's negating, denying that these agreements ever happened, that humanity was ever sold to ETs, to regressive ETs, to do the most ignominious things. So that's one point I want to mention as well.
Yeah, I'd like
Dan. Yeah.
I'd just like to add on to that. You know, I find it interesting that you know, Dr. Greer's perspective, he always has said, you know, over the last 2 decades that, you know, if there was bad ETs, we wouldn't be breathing the free air of Earth, and that and Dr. Michael Sella knows this well, that anybody who has had a a bad extraterrestrial experience has had implanted a screen memory that have this false illusion. Now, I know he's an intelligent person, and I know he would research some of the secret space program witnesses that have experience, like John Charles did, almost had his body chopped in half. That there have been regressive extraterrestrials up until 2021, since they were removed from our solar system. But it's just interesting to me that he has maintained such a consistency of not wavering on that at all. Dr. Michael Sala did a wonderful thing on about, false flag, alien invasion or salvation, and that the Vatican could be looking at maybe creating another new world religion, so they can maintain, perspective and everything. And so, there's that glitch in the reality that, I, question, that's what I want to add on to that. Oh, I also wanted to say I'm extremely honored to be working with Elena and Thorhan's younger brother, and that I've got 2 teams of scientists that are highly qualified that I'm organizing, and that we may, if we can get quantified this technology that's a gift from their world to our worlds, we very well may be presenting it at the conference.
Chris.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to give you the chance to say anything that's on your heart and on your mind.
Well, basically, I'm honored to be here. I'm so happy to be, part of the GISIC conference, and, to help bring, some of my experiences and some of, my memories and technology, to humanity. It's a process. And to work with all of you, it's really a wonderful opportunity, and I'm very, very grateful for that. And all I can just say in the moment is thank you, and I look forward to bringing as much information through as I can.
Thank you so much, Chris, and thank you for being so brave and sharing the legacy that you have brought to the planet in terms of information disclosure from MIMAS. I don't know that we would have ever known about MIMAS being a space station in around the rings of Saturn had you not brought that information forward. And it has also been validated off planet too, so you're not some crazy nut job making up a story. And that's where we all sit and stand here on this screen, and with Tony Rodriguez and Alex Collier also, that we will and have brought proof, we will and have brought evidence, and continue to do so. So if you out there have your evidence, have your proof, and aren't in just la-la land in your mind, which a lot of people tend to do, because it is now the galactic disclosure that we're really focused on, particularly this group. And I know it's very, very sexy to want to be part of it, but if we lie, we bring harm, we slow things down. So let's stand forward in our truth. And guys, again, the Galactic and Spiritual Informers Connection, October 20th to 22nd, 2023. We invite you with open arms to come and be with us, come and be with the audience. The audience are just as important as the people that stand on stage and deliver their truth. And at that conference too, you will see everybody here in the screen. Alex Collier will be in the audience. Dr. Christiane Northrup, who is a legend in medicine, female medicine in particular, will also be there, as well as others. It is the time to come together as family, as a human family, a hybrid family. We've all come from different places, and the Galactic Spiritual Informers Connection Conference is the place to be in October. We will be uncensored. We will be uncensored. All right, guys, I love you all so much. I love the audience, and just, hoping we all come together stronger and stronger, and just keep bringing the love, bringing the truth, bringing the disclosure, and hoping that everyone out there that watches this, stop allowing yourself to be owned. You're not 5 anymore, my love. You're not 5. Anything anybody else wants to say before we close?
don't miss these amazing events, dear friends, over the world. I know there is a lot of people take the plane from Australia and Japan and a lot of country to meet us. So I'm very grateful to meet the people. And thank you all to be in my life. Thank you. You know what I mean. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Charles.
Well, thank you again, Danny, for putting this conference together and giving us all an opportunity to meet one another, to have this kind of family gathering. I think that's very important, and I look forward to this conference becoming a really big event in the future. So thank you for that, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Thank you, Michael. It's an honor to have you.
Well, the era of fear is over. It has officially finished. Now humanity of Earth has entered into the era of sovereignty, when all the humans of Earth are free. And what sets them free is to realize that the era of fear is over. The fearmongers have lost power, their masters have gone. They try the last cards to try to get the most as possible before they disappear. And their only action, their only grip, the last grip is the fear. Their only last weapon. So if you do not allow fear to enter your life and realize that it is an illusion, that it is over, imagine we are already in this Star Trek future, in this beautiful spiritual society that we are headed towards. So now it is time to find your family, to find those you belong with, and gather together and celebrate life, love. Please tell everyone you want to tell that you love them. It is not only words, it is bonding your heart to them. And that's how we come together, through love. And I look forward to see you all who can make it in Orlando. That is going to be amazing. Lots of love to everyone.
Thank you, Elena Danan, Chris O'Connor, Jean-Charles Moyen, Dr. Michael Sala, Dan Willis, Alex Collier, Tony Rodrigues, and to you, who's out there, who's watching, stay strong. My name is Danny Henderson. I send you my love, and I will see you all soon.